Classic cars often act as emotional time machines, transporting people back to moments they never lived or moments they deeply miss. The curves, colors, and mechanical sounds trigger a sense of warmth tied to imagined or remembered eras when life seemed slower, simpler, and more authentic. This nostalgia is not just about the car itself, but about an emotional refuge from modern complexity. For many enthusiasts, classic cars symbolize a connection to family history. Memories of a grandfather restoring an engine in the garage or a parent telling stories about their first car become embedded in the metal and leather. The obsession grows as the car becomes a physical representation of lineage, continuity, and belonging. Nostalgia linked to classic cars is also fueled by cultural storytelling. Films, music, and photographs from past decades romanticize the freedom of open roads and youthful rebellion. These narratives create emotional imprints that persist even for those born decades later, making the cars feel familiar despite never having been personally experienced. Psychologically, nostalgia offers comfort during uncertainty. When the present feels unstable, people instinctively look backward to periods perceived as more stable or meaningful. Classic cars, untouched by modern digital overload, represent a tangible anchor in a rapidly changing world. The tactile nature of classic cars deepens this emotional bond. Turning a physical key, feeling the vibration of the engine, and smelling gasoline and leather engage the senses in ways modern vehicles rarely do. This sensory immersion strengthens emotional memory and attachment. Many collectors describe their obsession as therapeutic. Working on a classic car allows for focused attention and emotional regulation. The process of restoring something old mirrors the desire to repair or preserve aspects of the self, making the experience deeply personal. Classic cars also evoke collective nostalgia, creating instant bonds between strangers. Shared admiration for a model or era sparks conversation, reinforcing a sense of community built around shared emotional memories rather than practical utility. The imperfections of classic cars play a role as well. Scratches, mechanical quirks, and signs of aging humanize the object, making it feel alive and storied. These imperfections often enhance emotional value rather than diminish it. Obsession grows when nostalgia becomes identity. The car is no longer something owned, but something that reflects who the person believes they are or wants to be. It becomes a mirror of values like authenticity, craftsmanship, and emotional depth. Ultimately, nostalgia-driven obsession with classic cars is less about the past itself and more about emotional meaning. The car becomes a vessel carrying memory, longing, and personal narrative, transforming obsession into a deeply emotional relationship. Classic cars serve as powerful tools for self-expression, allowing owners to project personality, taste, and values without speaking a word. Choosing a specific era or model often reflects how individuals see themselves or wish to be seen by others. Unlike modern cars designed for mass appeal, classic cars feel unique and intentional. This uniqueness satisfies a psychological need for individuality in a world dominated by uniform design and algorithm-driven preferences. For some, obsession with classic cars is tied to identity formation. Owning and restoring a vehicle becomes a statement of patience, skill, and dedication. The car symbolizes mastery and personal competence, reinforcing self-esteem. Status plays a complex role in this obsession. While some classic cars are extremely valuable, the status is not purely financial. Respect within the community often comes from knowledge, authenticity, and hands-on involvement rather than wealth alone. Classic cars also allow individuals to align themselves with certain philosophies. Preferring mechanical simplicity over digital automation can reflect a belief in self-reliance, control, and transparency, values that become central to personal identity. The act of driving a classic car is performative in a subtle way. It attracts attention, curiosity, and admiration, validating the owner's sense of uniqueness. This external recognition reinforces emotional attachment and obsession. For many enthusiasts, the car becomes an extension of the self. Damage to the vehicle feels personal, while restoration feels like self-improvement. This psychological fusion strengthens emotional investment over time. Identity expression through classic cars often deepens during life transitions. Midlife, retirement, or periods of reinvention can trigger a desire to reclaim agency and redefine oneself through meaningful projects like car restoration. Social belonging also reinforces identity. Classic car clubs and gatherings provide spaces where individuals feel understood and valued. Shared language, rituals, and aesthetics strengthen group identity and personal commitment. In the end, obsession with classic cars becomes a narrative of self. The vehicle tells a story not only of automotive history, but of who the owner is, what they value, and how they choose to exist in the world. One of the most powerful psychological forces behind obsession with classic cars is the human desire for control in a world that increasingly feels abstract and automated. Modern life is filled with systems we rely on but rarely understand, from digital platforms to invisible algorithms. Classic cars, by contrast, offer transparency. Every sound, vibration, and mechanical response has a cause that can be traced, understood, and influenced by human hands. Classic cars invite participation rather than passive consumption. The owner is not just a driver but a caretaker, a mechanic, and a decision maker. This active involvement restores a sense of agency that many people feel they have lost in their professional or personal lives, where outcomes often feel distant and uncontrollable. The mechanical simplicity of classic cars plays a crucial psychological role. Components are visible, logical, and governed by physical laws rather than software code. This clarity reduces cognitive overload and replaces it with problem-solving that feels intuitive and rewarding, reinforcing confidence and mental clarity. Craftsmanship is central to the emotional bond. Classic cars reflect an era where manufacturing emphasized durability, repairability, and skilled labor. Appreciating these qualities satisfies a deep longing for authenticity and human touch in a world dominated by mass production and disposable design. Restoration work becomes a form of storytelling through action. Each repaired part connects the present to the past, creating continuity across time. This process gives meaning to effort, transforming labor into something almost sacred, where patience and care are rewarded with visible progress. Psychologically, the garage often becomes a sanctuary. It is a controlled environment where the chaos of the outside world is temporarily suspended. Time behaves differently there, slowing down as attention narrows, allowing the mind to rest while the hands remain engaged. This immersion frequently leads to a flow state, where self-consciousness fades and focus becomes effortless. In this state, stress diminishes, anxiety quiets, and a sense of inner balance emerges. For many, this is not just a hobby but a form of emotional regulation. Classic cars also provide an escape from digital saturation. Without screens, notifications, or automated systems, driving becomes a fully embodied experience. The driver listens, feels, and responds, reconnecting with the physical world in a way modern technology often interrupts. There is also psychological satisfaction in unpredictability. Classic cars demand attention and respect, creating a relationship built on awareness and adaptation. This dynamic interaction fosters presence and responsibility, qualities often diluted in automated environments. Obsession deepens as the car becomes a long-term project rather than a finished product. Unlike modern purchases that lose novelty quickly, a classic car continuously evolves, offering new challenges and learning opportunities that sustain long-term engagement. Preservation itself carries emotional weight. Saving an old machine from decay reflects a broader desire to protect meaning, history, and identity from erosion. In this way, restoration becomes symbolic, mirroring the human need to preserve values in a rapidly changing world. There is also a quiet rebellion embedded in classic car obsession. Choosing to invest time and energy into something inefficient by modern standards resists the pressure to optimize every aspect of life. It affirms that joy, meaning, and beauty do not need to be justified by productivity. Many enthusiasts describe a sense of dialogue with the machine. The car communicates through sound and behavior, and the owner responds through adjustment and care. This relationship fosters empathy, attentiveness, and respect, qualities often associated with meaningful human connections. Over time, the car becomes a personal archive of effort and memory. Scratches, repairs, and modifications tell a story of persistence, failure, learning, and growth. The object becomes inseparable from the journey of the person maintaining it. Classic cars also offer temporal escape. They allow individuals to step into a different rhythm of life, one governed by mechanical cycles rather than digital speed. This shift provides relief from constant acceleration and performance pressure. Ultimately, obsession with classic cars fulfills a fundamental psychological need for meaning through creation, control, and connection. The car is not just a machine but a living project, offering refuge, purpose, and a deeply human sense of mastery in an increasingly intangible world.